Spirituality is basically at its true essence who we are. So what is spirituality is the soul having a human experience. What makes it different is that, and then unfamiliar is, as we go through our experiences, we start identifying with everything that's not the soul. Who was I before that? And so the peeling begins to happen is, who am I? Who am I? Who am I without this title? Who am I without this relationship? Who am I without this experience? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Spirituality in action is everything is joy. Everything is pleasant. Everything is. There's an isness about it all. Pleasure seeking is temporary. Pleasure seeking is really, you can relate it to an experience. Every experience is temporary. So, if we're booking a vacation, we want the pleasure of this experience, but we have to come back home. Goal is also action, whereas we're kind of rewinding and peeling back the layers. So if you want to, if you want to talk in terms of goals, absolutely, to go back to self. Making spirituality simple, accessible, digestible, and applicable is my mission. And let's hope that we can do this through this series.
Hello and welcome to our podcast series, Spirituality Made Simple with Sukhy ji. My name is Kiran and I'm excited to learn more about spirituality along with you all from Sukhy ji, who has been on this path for many, many years. Welcome, Sukhy ji.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time for our podcast here. So I'd like to add here for the audience, Sukhy ji's mission is to make spirituality simple and accessible to the average person. So to make it simple, easy, applicable in day-to-day life, and not this theoretical, complicated concept which is kind of like out there. And so given that is why we're starting to do these series. So Sukhy ji, would you, in simple terms, for a beginner, average person like me, what is spirituality? How would you define it?
Kiranji, I'm so excited to do this series and these informational podcasts. As we are going now, the times are changing and more people are interested in spirituality and their true essence. But what is it? What is it, and how can we do it? So, making spirituality simple, accessible, digestible, and applicable is my mission. And let's hope that we can do this through this series. Spirituality is basically at its true essence who we are. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, what does that mean? We can easily say that. But Kiranji, like if we look at it from the lens through our human experience, when we're born, even before we we're born, the birth date, we have an experience in the mother's womb. What is it that embodies the body? What is it that takes on the body? The soul. So what is spirituality is the soul having a human experience. What makes it foreign concept or not understandable is because we begin to identify with everything that's not the spirit, everything that's not the soul. So I'd like to go a little bit deeper into that if I can.
Absolutely.
I know we're trying to make this simple, but sometimes, going deeper and then coming back to like breaking it down may be the easiest way. Let's see, we'll learn together how to deliver this message. But when we're born, a baby is at its truest essence. You see a child, a little newborn baby, and we all gravitate to that baby and feel the true essence of love when we hold that baby or a puppy or an animal, or, because they don't have an ego formed yet. So they're at their spiritual essence. They emanate that.
I see.
What makes it different is that, and then unfamiliar is, as we go through our experiences, we start identifying with everything that's not the soul. For example, as a child, we'll say, I am so-and-so's child. I added a label to my experience. So now I start identifying to that label. And then I am so-and-so's friend. Again, another title and a label. And then I am so-and-so's student. And I am so-and-so's husband or wife and so-and-so's mother, and etc. And we start adding those labels. So we come so far away from our true essence, which is our spiritual experience, and we become these human doings.
Right. Actually, I do remember reading somewhere a while ago, and this reminds me of that I guess before we're all born, before we take the human form, we're just souls. And then as soon as you're born, you now have an identity. I'm this religion, this culture, this ethnicity, this nationality, and now we identify as that, whatever human form we have taken.
The roles and the labels and the identities.
Yeah, which just seems so natural, and it just kind of happens without anybody putting any thought into it.
But if you look at it, Kiran, those are reliant on something outside ourselves. How am I somebody's child? How am I somebody's parent? If I didn't have a child, I would never become a parent. So that's reliant on giving birth to a child. Who was I before I had the child?
Right.
Right?
So
then, who was I before I had this job title? Who was I before I got married? Like maybe I'm a wife now, but that title is because I got married. So it's reliant on somebody else external to me. Who was I before that? And so the peeling begins to happen is, who am I? Who am I? Who am I without this title? Who am I without this relationship? Who am I without this experience? Who am I?
Right.
Who am I? Who am I? And that is spirituality, spirit.
So the true inner core of one's being.
And then living that, embodying it, in every action, remembering that I'm a spiritual existence, I'm a spiritual being, like a spiritual experience is come into this body. I've come for a spiritual experience to gain more evolution.
Right. Whereas what most of us end up doing is we identify ourselves completely with our physical form, right? Like, this is me, this is what I look like, this is who I am, this is what I do. And everything about me is just who or what I am now, physically tangible. And so spirituality then is more about the intangible or beyond the physical form. Right?
Beyond all the roles and titles that we've accumulated in life. If we just peel back to when we were born, we didn't have any of those. We didn't have them. Somebody could have put it on us, but we ourselves weren't carrying that. We're just this pure essence. And everything is joy. Spirituality in action is everything is joy. Everything is pleasant. Everything is. There's an isness about it all.
And that's another, brings me to another sort of question that I have, is on the one hand we hear, spirituality is joy, just the joy of being and just experiencing the joy of God's creation or something like that. But then also on the other hand, I think the dichotomy is you hear like we as human beings are chasing pleasure, right? Which we think is joy or will give us joy or will make us joyful. So what's the difference then between the pleasures that we're seeking, which are supposed to be all false and shallow and not lasting, like not everlasting, and then this joy that comes from spirituality, which is supposed to be sort of self-reliant and independent and not reliant on any external.
Well, you kind of answered your own question there.
Well,
the pleasure seeking is temporary. If we look at it from, pleasure seeking is really, you can relate it to an experience. Every experience is temporary.
Right.
So, if we're booking a vacation, we want the pleasure of this experience, but we have to come back home. We're looking for pleasure in taste. We experience this food, but too much of anything is bad for us. And, so that could link to obesity or illness if we're having these delicious, decadent desserts every day. But we're looking for that pleasure in taste, pleasure in clothing. We're trying to experience with our touch, etc., etc. So it's reliant on something external, and every time we seek pleasure, we realize that that's not eternal. It's a temporary experience, and so inevitably pleasure leads to disappointment, because the law of diminishing returns. The more we have pleasure, the less we appreciate it. So we look for more pleasure, like a deeper, more extended version of what we had before. Whereas joy it's a state we're in, and it's not reliant on anybody or anything external. When we achieve that state, and we've gone to our self-realization or actualization, it is a joy or a bliss that is not action, if that makes sense. It just is, and we're there all the time.
So it's a state of being.
It's a state of being. And so we do our daily work, we do whatever it is, and those little fluctuations can happen because of external experiences, but our inner state is always there. Our inner state is joy, and connected to divinity, connected to our essence while we're doing our daily life.
Which
we're real.
Right.
That's our true essence. It's actually beautiful, Kiran, and I really hope that everybody in this human experience gets to that place before we leave our physical experience.
Yeah, that would be great to experience this. This reminds me of when I've been reading in the ancient scriptures, a lot of this, where there's this sort of state of equilibrium or state of kind of bliss where nothing really disturbs you too much one way or the other. So that would be great to achieve, and that can be, so would you say then, so this is kind of, since we're talking about the concept, is that the goal then? Is that the purpose of spirituality? To get to that?
Goal is also action, whereas we're kind of rewinding and peeling back the layers. So if you want to, if you want to talk in terms of goals, absolutely, to go back to self, to go back to true essence, to go back to who we really are in, and the state is bliss, the state is peace, or the state is joy. If we go from the state that we're supposed to be experiencing in spirituality, I think it's easier to recognize it. Am I in joy right now? Am I in peace, or am I in chaos? It's kind of commotion or devotion. Am I in commotion right now? Well, that's ego. Am I in devotion right now? And devotion is to then everything, because spirituality, when we recognize the God in us, ourselves, we see God everywhere, in everything. It's not separate.
Wouldn't that be great if humanity could get there? Then we wouldn't have these wars or...
Absolutely, it'd be peace on earth.
Yeah, like this.
And that's our mission, peace on earth.
Great, what a great mission to have. Because who wants to, see this bloodshed and these wars and all the misery that ensues. So is there anything else that you would like to say about...
In completion, I think, in the next episodes, we will be going deeper into spirituality and how to attain that, and some of the struggles that people are facing within looking at themselves. But this is the most, I would say, important and the most valuable thing that we can do for ourselves and for humanity is look within. Come to our true essence and be that.
Wow, beautifully said. Thank you so much, Sukhy ji.
Thank you.
And we'll look forward to the next episode and we'll carry on from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm already feeling a lot more centered and excited about our next podcast. in which we will be exploring the purpose of life from a spiritual perspective. Stay tuned.